Hello and welcome to the Freedom Speak podcast. We're joined today in the studio by Israel Crooks, artist of the day, and we're here to get to know him, the person behind the art, and to see the work that he has done. We sit in his studio. My name is Wanja Gadu, and I'm going to be your host for today's podcast. Welcome. So Israel, welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's an honor for us to be here. Thank you for inviting us to your home and to letting us into your studio. This is your sanctum. So we come in respect and honor. We honor the space where we're sitting.
I do appreciate it.
We honor the country. We honor Canada. And we honor everyone who's making this day possible.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about you, the man behind the art. Before the art, who are you?
Well, before the art, I was a little kid, in Jamaica, country parts of Jamaica, pretty much, doing like chores. Like I can't even remember when I took up a pencil and said I wanted to be an artist. But before art, it's a longish story. I'm not trying to cut real short. My dad wanted me to be a medical doctor. So there was always this pressure to do well in the sciences, even though I was a B student at best. But once my uncle took a chance on me. He said, "You're like 10 years old." He says, "You drew this? Oh my goodness, God, you're an artist. You're not a doctor." Of course, it was a lot of tension between the uncle and my dad. But anyways, he behind the scenes was nurturing my desire to be an artist. He could see that in the passion in my eyes. Early as 10 years old, and so on. I played along. I went to university. I did the sciences. So my dad is happy. I did not make it to med school. I was planning to make it to med school as well as become an artist. But anyways, didn't make it to med school. So came to Canada at the age of 28 years old and decided I would start over.
Before we get into your Canada experience, tell me a little bit about biochemistry because it fascinates me. I've been digging.
Okay, so biochemistry, sometimes I wish I did not have that degree. And it sounds counterintuitive, or it doesn't seem like it makes sense. But biochemistry is when I was pretending not to be an artist and trying to please my dad so he doesn't have a heart attack. I wanted him to say his son was en route to medicine. But biochemistry, I surprisingly did well. I got honors in biochemistry. I became a chemistry teacher right after, while trying to get into medicine, because in Jamaica, you have to have 3 straight A's. And if you're international, maybe like Canadian friends I know, you can get C's and D's and still getting over guys with B's in Jamaica because of the international money. Wow. So that's that. But it wasn't for me to do medicine. I'm glad I'm where I'm at. Long haul, but I'm glad I'm here.
I'm glad that you actually found your passion.
If you're married to a Canadian, you're nice. So lucky for me, at 28 years old, the people, including my family, they were tears. "Please take me with you to the land of milk and honey." I came here 2002, proud man, first time I'm seeing snow. I was eating the snow. It was crazy for the first 2 years. And then some reality hit me afterwards. At 28, I was still thinking I would do medicine. I just wanted the paper. I want my dad to be happy. But I also wanted to do my thing. So at 28, I went to McMaster University to study engineering because I made a decision. If I can't get into medicine, maybe engineering is easier. It was easier. They said, but you have to go back to high school to get physics. So I went to night school for a year. I'm happy I got 95% for the grade 13 physics, highest in the class, everything. I was doing nothing else but that subject. But
wow.
I got into McMaster. 3 months later, I kicked myself out. Engineering is impossible for an artist. Too many numbers. Still, after that, I was fooling around, still thinking I could become a doctor if I push harder and do my MCATs and all the standardized. My wife was doing some MCATs too, so she understands the pressure on kids in Jamaica to become doctors, not even lawyers, right, or engineers. But at about 35 or so, I gave up when I realized that Canada was a little different from what I expected.
Right.
Yeah, I had to work in the factories just to eat.
I see.
There was no pursuing lofty ideas because after 2 years, the money that I took up ran out. Can't get a job, and pretty much I got this instead. You know what that is, right? So go pick up what they told me online was a little different from, we need young professionals to build up our aging population. Welcome. That was not the reality. So factories was a thing. I worked in and out of the factories. Crazy times. I lost my faith in God, and I'm a big God man. I call myself Black Michelangelo. Michelangelo is the most spiritual artist to date. Right. So, but I pretty much 35 till now, I'm 50. You do the math. Yeah. It's been a while I've been pushing art.
So when do you actually start and say, okay, from here on, I'm going to be an artist? And what kind of art form do you choose from the beginning?
Very good question. So at about 35 years old, I realized that the factories had taken its toll, had almost given up on life itself, because I was saying there is no God, because I was working on the garbage trucks. It's a touchy story. Right. For 8 months, and I have a degree. But anyways, I've gotten past that, I think. And now it's about, let me tell my wife the new plans that I have. And it was tricky telling your wife that you're never going to work in factories as long as you live. Again, it's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to work for people ever again, especially Canadian people. I'm being straight. And I had a plan. Mm-hmm. What if I work for myself and become an artist? I'll be self-sufficient and I'll be the CEO of my destiny, literally. Right. Except there is still another catch. But that's at that point I gave up on, I said all or nothing. From now on, I'm an artist. I know it's tough. I know it's gonna be rocky, because you have to make the product and then go sell it. I know there's two parts to art. You have to make the product and then sell it. And you have to read books if you want to learn on how to sell art, right, and how to make art if you need to brush up on your skills. A lot of work. But yes.
Paint me a picture of when exactly you start to draw or create art and what it is that you drew, the very first thing you did.
Beautiful. I can't remember the first thing I drew was Superman from the comic series. I was in grade 2 or grade 3 and at primary school in Jamaica, and I was fascinated with my friends copying superheroes from comic book, and I'd never drawn before, ever. Right. And I decided I would try my hand. After about 100 tries, crushing up the paper each time, one of the guys says, "Hey, that one looks nice." And I said, "Yes, I can do I can do this," because I was never talented. I was never a talent. I was never. I'm like Kobe Bryant, never a talent. Yeah.
So you're not a trained artist?
No, I'm not a trained. I don't like the word self-taught for many reasons. Self-taught could mean that I learned through rigorous practice alone, trial and error. It's far from the point. There's books, so I read books and I teach myself, which means I am academic while at being the same time self-taught. I don't know what that means. It's as if I went to school without going to school. I made my own curriculum. You see, I know what I want. I actually went to 1 year of art school here in Canada. It was supposed to be a 3-year program. And of course, I threw myself out after a year because, long story short, I did not agree with their definition of what art is versus decorative, other forms of visual things versus art. Art to me is a very sacred thing. If you're just going to put some lines on a canvas, I don't consider that art. Me and the professors got into a literal verbal fight. I'm very happy saying this because the principal was called in. I got a B plus, and a guy that did pretty much flash some paint on a canvas, he got an A. And I took the teacher to task, and the principal said my work is absolutely amazing, but he has to go with what the teacher says. It's the protocol. At that point, I quit on the spot. I said, you can't have a guy like me telling me how I should see the art world. No, I didn't want two dads. One in Jamaica, one in Canada. I threw myself out.
I hear you. So you describe yourself as a portraitist.
Yes.
What is that in a nutshell?
Okay, portrait is simply put, is the human head and shoulders rendered in any medium, whether it be charcoal, pastels, oil paint, acrylic, watercolor. Nowadays, the portrait could take on more contemporary aesthetic, like maybe it could be a caricature of nature, or it could be like whimsical or joke, like jokingly done. But for me, I stick to the old school treatment of a portrait, which is lightness and finish, which means Cadillac versus a Toyota. Yeah. I try to go full 100 on a portrait. I want to feel the energy of the person. No gimmicks, no props. I don't want to make pretty colors or fancy lines across the face. That can be nice too. Right. And it could really energize a room to see the modern portraits. But if you want to call yourself a portraitist, you can't hide behind any props. When you go for the dunk, you're not supposed to be getting any body pushing you up or standing on a chair. No props. I don't want you if you realize how portraiture is the most difficult thing an artist can ever do, it's in books. I didn't say that, and it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me about the art piece that is right by you.
I don't. Can you pick it up?
Talk to
Okay, so this is my most recent piece in progress. Can't really see too much of the background characters, but the main central figure is none other than the MVP championship OKC NBA superstar Shea Gilgeous-Alexander from, I say, my hometown, my new hometown city of Hamilton. Right, I'm now in St. Catharines 2 years um ago, so I'm new here, but 20 years in Hamilton. So Hamilton, this is a Hamilton kid. So when I was playing basketball at the courts, maybe I played with him and didn't even know. But he had a very tough start to basketball, a lot of discrimination when he was young. If you look at even this guy here, who's this guy looking across? It's all different portraits of the same person. So this is the young version of Shea, the young Shea. He's at Allan McNabb High School in his jersey, he's always playing basketball. And he asked if he could play for the school, and they said, no, you're not good enough. Even though you're MVP for the midget team, he wanted to play with the juniors, the big team. Anyways, after many tears, he switched school and then switched countries, went to the States, and they said, this is a diamond in the rough. Next thing you know, OKC got him, Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is OKC Shea right here. And this is one of his signature moves. He is impossible to guard. He's unguardable because you know what he does? And I'm going to inscribe it on a trophy. It's always a chess game out there. Can you see the chess aesthetic of the squares, the chessboard, right? Could be a checkerboard, but it's chess, right? But anyways, he's navigating one foot is on a dark square, the other foot is on a dark square across a diagonal. So he's strategically making his move. You're not getting this ball because he's shielding you with his offhand. And that's a signature move. And he doesn't have many signature moves, but he always gets you with this move. A lot of people have different things to say about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, that he's a free throw merchant. He just run into people and fall, and then he gets free. No, he strategically runs into people, and they cause him to fall. But anyways, so there's more around it. The background is the Hamilton skyline, skyline of factories and smoke. If you know much about Hamilton, it's a lot of smoke. It's not done yet. It's all rendered in pencil. But this is the trophies that he got for this year: the league MVP, a finals MVP, and the championship trophy. You can't see chess queen and a chess pawn here. That signifies his wife and his kid. And there's a chess rook here, which is a castle, which is where he lives. The bridge, very famous bridge in Hamilton. And this is his signature Shea 001 Converse sneaker line embedded into the fabric of the factories. So the trophy is embedded as well. And this one here is just a sleek trophy. A guy putting a dunk in, that's it, the trophy. He's actually standing on one of the metal beams of the framework. So this is what's called a narrative piece. And the greatest thing, this is all I'm going to say, is I've managed to have gotten the original signature of this man. So I met him 3 weeks ago or so, probably more, when he came to Canada to celebrate the championship. So they had a rally. I was there with this painting in hand. All that was there was this guy and a little bit of the Hamilton scene. And I said, could you please sign this for me? I didn't tell him it was unfinished, but the paint was still wet. So I said, this is wet paint. And he signed up top here. And anyways, what does that mean? I don't know. When Shea signs, when an important VIP person, like an influencer, signs your jersey, he said he signed the jersey of a little kid whose birthday it was and he was shy. It went from 200 to 40,000. So I don't know what this means because I'm not a money kind of guy per se. I love money, don't get me wrong. I love it. I love it enough, but not more. Right? So money is a means to an end. It causes greater access and greater ability to help people. So I plan to give away proceeds. If I could do 2,000 limited edition prints and 96, I think something like that, which is the total points he scored in the year, the championship year, I could give away 20% to his foundation here in Capital in Hamilton, in Canada, where the kids are disadvantaged to say the least. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to get rich ever. I don't want to get rich. I used to be honest. I wanted to get rich. I wanted to be the most famous painter alive. I call myself Black Michelangelo because I put my heart and soul in it, as you can probably tell. But money taints art, and that's the latest thing I'm thinking. It taints it. I won't do anything just to get money from it.
This is a fantastic piece of art. It
Thank you.
looks lifelike to me. Now, you segue right into my next question because I was going to ask you about chess. So tell me about chess, your love for chess, you're teaching younger players how to play chess. Where is the connection? Tell me about it.
Second only to my first love, which is art, is chess, which I considered an art in and of itself. So at 16 years old, I saw a fellow comrade at school in Jamaica playing the game. He was in a lower, always have a chess set around. So this is my little miniature. So I come up with different artistic patterns and so on that I would later use to beat my opponent in the future.
Yeah.
So I play chess with myself. People think it's crazy. It's kind of crazy, but I learned from a junior in high school in Jamaica, no college. And he was in grade 10, I was in grade 13, and I had my tie. And I was like, it's a shame I don't know how to play this game. It looks like it's very interesting. The guy was only too happy to show me the game, and right then I said I could never play this game. I don't know how I even made it this far in school. This is too complicated. But the guy was such a good teacher. He would say the same things over and over. I said, I just told you how to move this piece. The pawn moves one square up or two. Okay, it doesn't move that way. Okay, thank you, sir. In Canada, they diagnosed me as a slow learner / ADHD learner, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I don't buy that. I just say I'm a different kind of learner. But anyways, compared to everybody else, I'm rather slow at learning, but I'm pretty deep though. I go deep into stuff. Maybe that's why I slow down. But chess offered me that game that I could take with me anywhere and I could use to impress anybody, especially the ladies, right? So I made the chess team that same year in school. I studied up, made a chess team. Like I said, I was impressing everybody, probably everybody except my dad. But chess is what kept me out of trouble. Believe it or not, I'm Jamaican, I'm 51, no criminal record. I'm just going to say that. Chess is a big part of that. I played in chess tournament. I won my first tournament here in Guelph upon coming to Canada. I beat 2 masters. Ever since I've been losing to kids. Chess tells me that I can move with the best of them, even though I might be a slow learner. If I could manage something like chess, which is just raw brain cognitive work,
Right.
you know, art is a bit cognitive for me, but there is more room for experimentation and there's no real right answer for art. For chess, it's every single bit of science as well as art. You have to be perfect with chess in terms of sequencing and everything has to be just right or else you will lose.
Tell me about teaching kids how to play chess.
Teaching kids, teaching kids, funnily enough, to play chess came at the basketball court because I'm a big basketball fan. And I'm always bringing my chess set with me everywhere. It's a conversation piece and my chess set in my hand. I don't know, I didn't have one for the interview, but chess set in the hand, it softens me up. And that's how I perceive it, especially in a world where the big, strong black man with big shoulders, it could be intimidating. So the kids ask me, you know, what's that game? What's that board about? Next thing you know, I'm teaching the kids. A few of them take to it. A few of them go back to playing basketball, but the few who take to it actually got me a little stint on CBC news station, and it was interesting because people thought I was a chess coach first. No, I'm an artist first, but I love chess so much. Chess keeps me out of trouble, if you know what I'm saying.
Is that something you plan to continue doing? Have you done trained kids that are competing professionally?
Yes, so I trained this master to be, if he's not already a master, Canadian chess master, which means he's at the highest possible, close to the top of the world in chess. He's a little Asian kid by the name of Bindi Cheng. He came to me at the library 20 years ago, wanted me to teach him chess. Within a couple months, he's beating me with his eyes closed. So he was a prodigy. But then we keep the link and he always remembers the early start. You know, being a prodigy means things come easier to you than for
Right.
some,
Yeah.
but doesn't mean you're gonna go all the way necessarily. Nothing against Bindi, but there's another guy who I didn't really teach chess. Maybe I taught him by beating him in tournaments, and he cried and he told his dad. And after a while, he studied up within years, and it was hard for him. I could tell he wasn't a natural, but he's now the first Canadian chess master above the other guy, who it seemed to have come easy to. So I see different personalities coming up through chess with the kids. It's not for everybody, but the fighters in life, they will play chess. They won't run from it because complexity, where do I do? Do I run from complexity? My wife will tell you, no. Israel runs straight head on into complexity. He doesn't do simple. He can't do simple.
Isn't that a beautiful thing about being a teacher and a creative?
Blessing and a curse, because you take on way too much. You're always over the top, over ambitious, and you almost is always late because you're trying to get more out of the of time and life.
So how does your day look like? A typical day?
A typical good day versus a bad day. A typical good day is when I wake up like 6 o'clock and I go for a little jog, get the blood flowing, and then it's about, if I didn't clean my brushes the night before, setting up my space to paint. Once I get about 4 or 5 hours of painting in between breaks, I will pretty much look at the work and figure whether or not it's going anywhere, and sometimes rip it to threads. So my day, my painting day is anything but routine, etched in stone. My day could vary from, I don't feel like painting today. That's probably a bad painting day, to 16 hours nonstop till I can't feed my legs. My wife has to be feeding me food like I'm in prison. So it's all about, who am I as a painter?
Right.
I'm a Michelangelo type. If Michelangelo was alive today, me and him would kick it for real. Yeah.
Good to hear that. Now, tell me, with the day so full and so much to do, let's talk about family. How do you balance that?
Well, my family, except for my half sister, is in other countries. One is in Germany, and the rest is in Jamaica, and all sisters. And I can tell you, both my mom and dad, they're gone now, but family life is very interesting as a painter, especially when some of your siblings are doctors. So I have one sibling is a doctor, another one who's a pharmacist, excuse me, and other two sisters, they're holding their own with what would I like to say, by holding on to status symbols, right? But anyways, I'm just gonna say I didn't marry rich like some of my sisters, and like everybody else, I guess I see the way I'm trying to do it the way I see it, and the way I see it is family is important, but family, they look down upon you if you're an artist. If you're an artist and they're in academia or higher, and they're lawyers and stuff, they talk behind your back, and there's so much tension right now. Is Israel selling out? I thought he was ambitious. He hasn't been making any money off his art recently, because I used to get the art commission here and there. Ever since COVID, it all dried up. 5 years now, $0. But I kept painting. I know they don't work as hard as me, but the world, they don't see the process. They see the finished product. Right. And they have a romantic view of an artist. He's singing a song with a palette in hand, and he's just making dabs. That's the final stage that you see on TV. Doing art is a lot of manual work and a lot of mental work combined. So anyways, there's a lot of tension. Don't even balance family life. When they call me, it's usually for Christmas, birthdays, whatever, or we have some issues we want to talk about or whatever. But maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I don't have a lot of family saying what I should do or shouldn't do. I'm my own man here in Canada. So one good thing about Canada, actually.
That's good to hear. Now, the big question, does art pay?
Art, like, that's a tough question. Does art pay? If you're a commercial contemporary artist, that focuses on art decor, decorative stuff, art, or you paint for the fad or the hype, art pays, and especially or use influencers to bump up your fame, and you work off fame as opposed to your actual art being. You focus on everything but the product, you might be successful. If you focus too much on the product, you will be like me. Chances are what they call a starving artist. I hate the word starving, but it is very true. It's real. I am a starving artist.
Are you? I don't believe that. I
Yeah.
would find that very hard to believe.
If my wife divorces me right now, you'll see I'll be knocking on your door for spare change.
Okay. So now tell me, how do you expose your art? How do you put this in art in
It's
a gallery?
Well, I do a little bit of social media. Yes, you mentioned gallery. Gallery is the ticket for every artist, I think. Even in back in the day of money, hundreds, late 17, 1800s, even before that, where the Paris Salon, the gallery of all galleries, was where all the aspiring artists who really wanted to make a good go of it would try to get their work exhibited by the gallery. But Monet already showed you don't have to depend on the gallery, even though he didn't get into the gallery and he started his own gallery, which was very novel of him at the time, which was what made it make him the greatest impressionist artist of all time. Secretly behind everybody's back, he was still trying to get into the mainstream galleries. So the mainstream galleries,
Right.
for me,
Right.
I remember the Art Gallery of Hamilton, AGH, 2 minutes from where I used to live in Hamilton, downtown Hamilton. And I used to trek over there. It's natural. It's 2 minutes with art in my hand. And I want to speak to the boss or the curators or whatever their title is, the art directors. And they were usually quite welcoming and surprised. This guy with all this art, plus he's black. And there's a dead spot because every single gallery owner since then seem to have a problem with my skin color because they said my work is great, so great. They're emotional how great it is, and I look on their walls and my work is on par with some of the good, the nice pieces I see. But they say, long story short, they're not working with emerging artists at the moment. They're working with more established. So they use those words established. This painting is Mamba Forever, one of the series that I'm doing. I've done some liquor portraits on the other side of the studio, but this is the first one. And young Kobe doing his thing. And the story behind it is I was painting on the streets of Oakville, which is a very posh and higher end neighborhood in Ontario, Canada. And an Oakvillian, a person from Oakville came up to me and said, "Stop painting right now." I didn't have any of the background done in, but I'd done mostly the face and everything else. He said, "How much? How much? Stop painting. How much? I want this painting." And I was taken aback because, for a long story short, I was hoping for a better icebreaker, like maybe, "How are you? Nice painting. What's your name? Blah blah blah." But he said, "How much?" That's the introduction. So I was defensive, and I said, "Like, it's a lot." And he's like, "How? Like, just give me a price." And he was ready to buy, and I said, I don't think I'm gonna sell it to locally. I have plans to go to Los Angeles, and that was a big plan of mine 3 years ago to go to Los Angeles pre the Diddy incident. Because my wife said we agree it's volatile right now for even a black man to be in Los Angeles, and with all the crazy rumors of the Illuminati and all of that stuff. But I was ready to take LA by storm, especially with my Kobe flagship piece here. And I told the guy I would get sale for it. I have a plan to go to Los Angeles. I could get $1 million for it. He laughed. And he said, "I give you 10,000 right now on the spot." And he's reaching for his money and making sure his Rolex was prominent while he did so, right? And I said, "No." And he says, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "That's peanuts." And I'm thinking to myself at the time, "Israel, why are you saying this?" But I didn't like the guy. The guy came off as being pretty arrogant and pretty almost like incourteous, if that's the word. He wasn't a nice guy. I tried to be a nice guy myself, and I was like, "I'm not selling this guy, even if he gives me more money. And besides, I have a plan." So maybe I shouldn't have recounted that story to my wife when I got home, because honestly, maybe I should keep it a secret, because now I'm kicking myself. It's still here, and the money could have gone far away, and I could reasonably have done another painting like this, and everybody would be happy. I refused the money, and my wife was saying, um, you know, we really need to talk and what's going on, right? But I don't care, man. I'm one of those old school artists, Michelangelo-esque kind of guy. I will, if you give me $1 billion, or if you want to make it 1 trillion,
Right.
but first I got to give you my soul. Not happening. If you're giving me $1 billion, but first I got to you give me $1 billion, but you are going to, there you go. You're going to continue with discriminating against my kind? No. So I am not a politically minded artist. I don't do politically motivated art and so on. I go with more of the naturalistic art and feel good art, if you want to say, like the landscapes and the nice, beautiful portraits. I try not to get political, but the world is political. So sooner or later, you'll see that I am political, even though I'm trying not to. I don't do art for people who don't truly deserve my art. And that's the truth. And but my wife, she still doesn't understand that, but it's okay. I love her, right?
Thank you for that point.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about challenges.
Yeah.
As an artist who has such beautiful work and who is trying to make a living out of art, what challenges are you facing?
Well, if I wasn't married, I would be on the streets right now. It sounds very, I get choked up every time I say that, but what am I going to do? Am I going to give up on art? Am I going to sell out and join the gravy train and do contemporary contextual art installations and weird art, Picasso-esque and all of that? Maybe I could make some money doing that, but then that would have me changing my DNA. I'm not that kind of guy to do whimsical art and art that is selling right now. So let me do that. No, I do art that speaks volume and has layers of meaning. And if it's too simple, I'm not doing it. So minimalism, no way, not happening, right? And in the end, I suffer because of it. I can't paint fast enough to sell. And when I do finish painting, because I took so long, the value goes up and nobody can afford to buy it, they say, at least in Canada. So I am actually holding out that bigger markets will see my work and will be able to purchase, have a greater purchasing power than maybe say our greater love. Who knows? But I am 2 seconds away from being homeless, so to speak. I have a strong opinion, and if my wife doesn't support me, and I'm talking, I have $0 in the account right now. And I really don't care. I'm actually smirking because that's what shows that I'm a real artist. It shows that I'm not willing to get a day job. I'm not even getting a day job. I'm in art 100%. Yeah.
That is very impressive. When you do something and do it with all your heart. So what would you tell somebody who is maybe a young artist, an aspiring artist, or somebody who dreams of doing some great work?
Without true frankness and honesty, I'm not that guy to tell a youngster, an aspiring young artist, how to row their boat. I'll be honest, my way is probably the absolute worst way, which is to stick to your guns. But in the modern world that we are, I'm going to be honest, 500 years ago, a couple hundred years ago, it was more the quality of the work that got you recognized and got you established as an artist. Nowadays, it's quite the opposite. But then art mirrors the world at large. So we look at all the things happening, even in the superpower, the States right now, which is a superpower. Rocky, but it's still a superpower. We see the different things happening and the presidential changes, and oh my goodness. So this is what's going on in the US, and it's jokes. You're calling a third world country a S-hole country like Jamaica. You're doing, and it's a president can say that now? Yes. Art reflects those kind of abnormalities. And my teacher back in school said art should reflect the times. I beg to differ. Art should stay true to the divine, which is what Michelangelo said. He said the great work of art is but a shadow of the divine perfection.
That is a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much for making the time. We appreciate inviting us into your home and sharing about your art.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, with that, we come to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like this podcast, do find us on Spotify or YouTube or wherever it is that you find your podcast. Thanks again. Goodbye for now.